We've been together for 3 years and planned to move in together when she finished school this year. We have a routine that after I finish work, we'll grab some food and go to a spot in the woods that overlooks a river. There we talk about our day and eat our food. We do this about twice a week. It's about a 20-minute drive from her place and about a 2-hour walk through the woods. We were talking last week and she started crying out of nowhere, telling me how much she loved me. I went to hug her and she pushed me away and told me that she'd been cheating. It was with the guy in her class who was also part of her friend group, and they routinely go out together. I never joined them as drinking and clubbing isn't my scene, but I've met them all a few times. The guy's always been a bit of an idiot. Anne has tried to start a fight with me once when I picked her up, and they were intoxicated, so it all makes sense. She said it had happened multiple times. They were intoxicated mistakes. She didn't mean it, etc. She went through all the tropes, and honestly, I sort of zoned out as I instantly lost all respect and love for her. I don't know how long she talked, for maybe 10 minutes, but she grabbed my hands a few times. I just had enough, told her we were over, and went to leave. She went to grab the door and I told her not to touch my car. I told her there were plenty of signals she'd been charging her phone in the car and that she could call her new boyfriend to pick her up. She cried even more, but I just didn't care. I drove home, blocked her on everything, and dealt with everything my way. A few of her friends texted me with some insults and such. One said I should be ashamed, as it took her 3 hours to walk home, and it wasn't safe. It was a warm evening. The sun didn't set until 10 p.m., and I left when it was around 6 p.m. She could have called someone to pick her up. Why is it my responsibility to help someone who broke my trust? Am I the idiot for leaving my ex at the side of the road after she confessed to cheating? The same intoxicated mistake multiple times? If you're going to admit to cheating, then it wasn't the best place to do it. She didn't think that one through, and she didn't call her new boyfriend because he ditched her. Not the idiot. This is probably the only instance where you wouldn't get a fine for leaving trash on the side of the road. Dang, as accurate as Robin Hood's arrow. Did she honestly think OP was going to chauffeur her home and walk her to her door after she slept with someone else multiple times? No, love. The new boyfriend ditched her. That's why she was apologetic, trying to get the pardon before even the discovery of the crime. It was the last dude. I don't buy the idea that she wasn't safe. I'm so sick of this "you need to be scared of your own shadow" BS mentality. Yes, I'm a woman. Yes, bad things happen, but I have to live my life. That means sometimes I'm going to gasp, walk by myself. And you know what? I'll probably be fine. I'll probably be safer if I was in a car statistically. But no, apparently because I have breasts, I must be too afraid to walk places. Give me a break. Plenty of women walk, and we're just fine. Oh, she didn't walk for that long, LOL. It's what she's saying, but nah. She had friends, family, and the Uber to pick her up. I doubt anyone was ready to do it. She has to live with the consequences. I have no respect for cheaters. Block her friends, OP, and let your friends know in case they try to use their own narrative against you. My wife and I went shopping. I went to a different aisle to get some jerky. I heard my wife scream, "Help!" So I ran over, and she was freaking out because an elderly woman hugged our son. You could tell the woman was harmless. The woman's son came along and profusely stated that she had dementia, meant no harm, and tended to view every child as her child. I said it was okay and apologized for my wife's overreaction. During this time, I wasn't paying attention, and my wife called 911 and called over security. It became a massive mess for all parties because my wife was not letting this issue go. You could also tell the son was extremely embarrassed as well. I was trying to relax my wife, but she was going on a complete meltdown rage, saying that his mother should be in a home if she can't keep her hands to herself. What if she got our kid sick, tried to kidnap him, got combative and hurt him? All of which I agree are possible outcomes, but I told her none of that happened, so let's just leave it. Security states since the wife called the police, we had to wait for them to show up so they can file a report as per their store policy. About 25 minutes later, police showed up and asked what happened, and my wife explained everything. You could tell the police were like, What the heck is wrong with this woman? I felt nothing but disappointment. Police took the statement and started laughing as they left, gave the son of the elderly woman a fist bump, and said sorry. My wife was upset that I didn't have her side. She was upset that I took the son's side instead of her. I explained his mom was clearly sick. It was a harmless gesture, and explained she acted unreasonably. I did acknowledge her concerns, but nothing bad happened. We could have just let it slide and gone on with our day. She told me I failed as a husband. So we ran the story by our family and friends. It's a 50-50 split. So, am I the idiot? Sorry, forgot to add that our kid is 19 months old. Not the idiot, good Lord. Your wife's initial concern was justified, but she should have dropped it after the situation was explained and an apology was offered. There was no reason to call 911 or even store security. You didn't fail as a husband. You were acting normally. Yeah, like, what was she expecting the police to do? Arrest an elderly woman with dementia for hugging a child? No cop is doing that. She could try pressing charges, but as soon as the cop sends the case to the DA's office, the DA is going to laugh their butt off and say, pass. It sounds like his wife was embarrassed about her own overreaction and decided to hide it behind false outrage and the need to blame someone for how she feels, rather than be an adult and accept she made a mistake. I disagree. If a stranger came up and grabbed my young toddler, I would have flipped the heck out. Your wife's initial reaction was 100% called for. Would I have called 911? Probably not. But the panic and anxiety I would have felt at that moment certainly could have clouded my judgment and made me want to. I also don't agree with the woman being harmless because she has dementia. Just because she likely meant no harm doesn't mean she could do no harm. Anger and dementia can be scary. She could have been convinced your child was hers and your wife was trying to kidnap him. Your wife was full of adrenaline and likely had these scary worst-case scenarios running through her head. Of course she reacted strongly. I wonder if the mother might have called the police because her husband wasn't giving a crap about her concerns. I think a lot of people have pity and sympathy for those who have dementia, but don't really realize how dangerous they can be. Again, wife was scared, still probably had adrenaline going. They could have thought that they were lying about dementia to make it seem harmless because they were caught and possibly wanted a record of it occurring. It's not a what if, but rather trying to understand a scared mother. My sister-in-law, wife's sister, is expecting her first child with her husband. For the last 4.5 months of her pregnancy, he has been insufferable. Sister-in-law and he are no closer to finding a name for their baby, and he uses the pregnancy and the fact that they're still actively naming their baby to crap on gender-bending names, boy names on girls or girl names on boys. His name is Skylar, and he talks about how cruel his parents were for giving him such a girly name, a name meant for girls more than boys. He has ranted about people trying to call him Sky and how that's such a girl's name. He rants and raves and regularly brings up the fact that men should not have androgynous or girly names. Yet so many people think naming a boy Riley today is fine, or naming a boy Sage makes sense. He said it's wrong. He talked about meeting a young boy named Ren, and how his parents had cursed him to forever be mistaken for a girl when they heard the name. He said no man or boy likes those names. No man or boy wants to be called those names. As a male indigo who goes by Indy in daily life, including at work and school and college when I went, I disagree that every guy feels that way. I don't. I also know a guy named Kinsey from school who never had a problem with his name. I know a guy named Sonny who hated his name because he felt it was too girly, so it balances out. But my wife's brother-in-law is adamant that every man and boy with any name that gets used on girls too is disgusted by it and hates it. He will not let it go. This came up again on Saturday when we went out to lunch. He was being loud and doing his same old rant as always. This time I spoke up and told him he can't speak for all guys with gender-bending names because we don't all hate our names, and he can look to me as an example if he wants. I also pointed to a guy he follows on social media who technically has a gender-bending name. I told him they might not be his thing, and that's fine. Nobody can force him to like those names. but he's wrong to speak in absolutes about it like he does. He acted like I had personally demanded he name his son Ella or something. He called me an idiot and told me I couldn't force my opinion down his throat like that. His wife told him to shut up and listen to what I actually said. But he told me I had humiliated him and told him he was wrong to have his opinions, and that makes me the idiot. Should I have simply left the topic alone? You can't force your opinion down my throat. Well, I've spent 4.5 months trying to force my opinions down your throat. Your brother-in-law screams into the night, absolutely humiliated by his own petard. Not the idiot, from a woman with what's technically a boy's name, and just fine with it. He's obviously in a set headspace. Your opinion won't change it or have an impact. To some people, gender-neutral names are on par with names that can be reduced to nicknames. Our youngest is Danny. Many people assume his name is Daniel and call him that. No, he's purely Danny on his birth certificate. My husband is from Belgium with the name Jan. Being in Australia, you can bet your bottom dollar people assume I'm a lesbian as they see it as written as Jan until I explain that it's pronounced yarn and he's a 6'7" bloke. I don't think OP wants to change his mind. I think he wants him to shut up. I'd have a hard time not laughing at his little tantrum. Darn, the amount of energy he's dedicated to this is wild. If this is what he considers a big problem, he's lucky in life. It's telling that someone having a simple difference of opinion on this makes him feel humiliated. Yeah, just keep shutting him down. You're free to have your preferences, but you don't get to dictate how others feel about their own experience. We've all endured your rants long enough. We will not censor your fragility. If he had such a problem, why hadn't he changed his own name? It sounds like he's just looking for an excuse to be an idiot. My husband and I, both in our mid-40s, have been together for 25 years. I love him very much and our lives are intertwined. Economy, family, and friends. So when he told me that he still loved me but wasn't attracted to me anymore, I see you as my best friend and companion. I understood where he was coming from. He didn't want to lose me, but he wasn't attracted to me. We have our house and an apartment in the city. So we agreed to open the marriage and we had some set of rules like no relationships in my marital home, no dates, spending money on the women, or taking them for vacations, etc. All relationship things are just between us, and he can meet people for casual intimacy. Same for me, although it is different since men do take me to dinners and hotels, but I don't pay. This has been going on for a year, and I had a tough time in the beginning. I cried all night when I knew he was in the apartment with someone else. My best friend recommended that I download Tinder, and at first only talking to new people did it. With time, I realized how many other people are out there, and I started to feel attracted to men other than my husband. After some months, I started to meet guys. I slept with my first 2 months ago, and we still see each other sometimes, and I've met 2 more. Yesterday, my husband and I were having a lazy morning in bed with Netflix, and he said that he didn't want this anymore and that we should close the marriage again because we're great now. He loves me, and he thinks I'm the most beautiful woman he knows. I had a panic episode, to be honest, because I don't think he's come to a realization or anything. He likes me now because of the open marriage and not despite it. If we close it, he will go back to being unfulfilled. I've done much research about open marriage, and the goal of it is to strengthen the existing relationship. And this happened to us. I said no. He was very unhappy, but I said that we could divorce if this didn't work for him anymore, because I'd done everything in my power to save our marriage, and I felt that I had succeeded. I don't want to go back to when we almost lost each other. He asked me if we got divorced and I started dating, would it be open or a poly relationship? I said no, I would want a monogamous relationship. So he said that I was an idiot who didn't want to give him the same decency as my hypothetical future partner. Am I the idiot? The open marriage strengthened our marriage? We're probably getting divorced as a result of said open marriage. Wow, 2 people who are not even on the same page. They're in different books. Do yourself a favor and skip to the end, where you're happily divorced and living your best life. But somehow they're amazing best friends and so perfect for each other. Apart from him making me cry myself to sleep and feel deep, unrelenting shame. And now the thought of being in an exclusive relationship with him makes me want to scream and vomit. He's my best friend. This relationship is the envy of the neighborhood. These always start the same way. Anyway, not the idiot. I might be completely wrong, but it sounds like it was his idea to open the marriage. I would want a monogamous relationship. Implies that that's what you wanted all along. If I'm right, these are merely the consequences of his own actions. I imagine the irony is not lost on you. My sister and her husband have 2 kids. They're both in school. This whole year, she's been complaining constantly about how hard it is to be a stay-at-home mom, but she doesn't want to go back to work, even though her husband has been pushing her to do so for a while. The issue is that she doesn't do much compared to her husband. He takes the kids to school in the morning. The kids have come home on the bus in the afternoon. She has a whole day with no kids, and she can do whatever she wants. Maintaining the house is like 2 hours a day. That leaves her with about 6 to 7 hours of just being there. I was a stay-at-home parent after I lost my old job for a bit. Really, it's not that hard when the kids are in school almost all day. Anyways, she comes over yesterday and was ranting. They argued about her picking up more and getting a job. This started because he came home to a dirty house with no groceries in the fridge. I asked why she wasn't doing chores, or at least getting food, and she told me she didn't have time. I asked if she got a work job, and it was a no. I asked what she was doing all day, and she gave me no answer. She then ranted about how he wasn't doing enough and that her husband was unfair. At this point, I had enough. I told her she wasn't a martyr for being a stay-at-home mom, that she literally gets everything paid for and can't even afford to buy food. I told her that if I were her husband, I would divorce her, since she acts more like a kid than a partner. This started our own argument, and she was angry. I personally think she needed to hear it. Not the idiot. I agree with you. Why is she a stay-at-home mom when her kids are at school and she isn't even doing anything at home? If there was a newborn at home, I'd give her slack. At this point, her husband is correct. Get a job or get out, as she isn't bringing anything to the table. But you don't understand. Going back to work means she'll have to do something. She can't account for her time when the kids are in school, because then she'd have to admit she does nothing, or that she does whatever she wants. Either way, she's not willing to give up that time. She's been enabled too long, it seems, and she wants the only contributing adult to do more. Honestly, it comes down to one of 4 things: mental health, laziness, selfishness, or an affair. She's got 35 plus hours a week to herself, time she won't account for. Her partner realistically loses nothing by divorcing her.